Hello, 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 Elkhart County. Welcome back to this lovely Triple P afternoon. While we're waiting for other people to join us, I'd like to tell you that we have now completed our series on parenting during COVID-19. So we have 10 little videos with 10 Triple P strategies for coping. I think they're called like coping with uncertain times or something. Like really, really helpful points. You can watch them each separately, and then we're eventually going to put them all together. So it's things like tips on maintaining a routine or helping your child to tolerate uncertainty, things that are kind of specific to what we're dealing with right now and that are changing a little bit, but that we're continuing to deal with in certain ways. So those are on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in those, I would encourage you to go check those out. And I think if you like us, you'll get notifications and stuff too. So that'd be great because we're doing a lot of new things right now. So today's topics I thought we could talk about is about chores, about getting your kids to help out around the house. So I have noticed that my kids are, well, obviously they're home more and they're making more of a mess. And so where it used to be fine that once a week they would do certain things, now those need to be done like a lot more often. Things just get a lot dirtier, a lot faster. So maybe we have to do them every other day. And they just have more time, and it's just everything's different right now. And so I think we're having to so even some things that were working well maybe aren't working as well. Now we have to try something new. And chores is one of those. It's just an ongoing thing. So here are some Triple P tips for doing that well. So this is based on one of our tip sheets, so that we've gone through some of these before, but we have a lot of these for very specific things that are very common problems, normal things for parents to deal with, and that Triple P has researched how to get the best cooperation from our children. So one of the tips on here is to have a family meeting and just list everything that needs to be done. So sit down together and talk about what it takes to keep your house running. And that can be specific to now. And you might want to say on there how often, like basically right now we need to do this sweeping every day, or whatever it is. So list all of those things. I would encourage you to put everything on there. So even if you don't want your kids to take over the grocery shopping, that might be a disaster, put it on there because it helps them to see all of the things that need to be done to maintain your life. So after you've had that meeting and listed all of the things, see if you can come to an agreement on what different people can do and how often. Your kids might be very willing to try this and less willing to do this, but just giving them some choice in that might help to increase their cooperation. Now, ultimately, this is up to you. And if they don't want to choose certain jobs, or if you don't think what they chose was age appropriate or something, it's still going to be up to you what this ends up looking like. But do that as collaboratively as possible. If there are some that they've chosen they're just way too difficult for them, your 3-year-old wants to make breakfast, maybe that's something you can do together so they can still feel like they're participating, but that you can make sure that the house isn't going to burn down, that kind of thing. So come up with that list and then finalize a job list for each child. It can be very helpful to write this down, to make a list, to make a chart, make something where people are actually checking off what they've done. The next tip is to set a time for having the chores done. This is very, very important. We don't want to just kind of leave it open and then be frustrated all day that they haven't done it yet. So be very clear on when you need that done by. If you say it needs to be done before dinner, then don't worry about it the rest of the day. Maybe at 4:30, give a reminder, however you want to do that, but have a time that it needs to be done by. And you might want to have something at that time that is an incentive to them. So it needs to be done before you can play your games, or it needs to be done before you can have access to your phone, or before dinner, or something meaningful to them that will provide that little bit of incentive that they'll want to get it done. That's not the only way, but that can be helpful. And a big Triple P rule about rules, very, very important. They need to be enforceable. So if we're going to say it needs to be done by 3, but I'm at work till 5, I can't enforce that. I don't really know whether it was done. So find a time and mainly a time that you can check up on it and enforce it, so that if it wasn't done, you can do something about it and follow up. I worked with one family who had a rule that the kids could have after school, this was back when we had school, after school, they could only have an hour of screen time. Well, parents didn't get home till after 5, and so then that was frustrating because they didn't know whether the kids had done it. And so as we worked together, we were able to just rearrange their schedules so that instead of they could have an hour of screen time, it was they had to have their homework done and they had to have their chores done. And then they could, as long as those things had been done, the parents didn't look into it too much. So what changed was then the kids would get the chores done, get the homework done in order to get to that incentive. And when the parents came home, all they had to check was whether the chores and the homework were done. So that was enforceable. If those things weren't done, then they could have a consequence, whereas they couldn't really enforce the hour of screen time. So just big triple P rule, just make sure that you arrange things in a way that you can really check up on that and follow up on that if it's not done. And then think about rewards and consequences. You might want to have something small for every day. If those things were done, you do get your screen time, or we can have ice cream after, or we'll play a game, or something really minor that you can just reward them for those daily getting done what they need to get done. And then maybe something bigger. If this has been a problem for you, or this is a brand new system, you might want to also say, and if that goes well for a week, then we'll do something fun on Friday night, or have some way of having them build up to something. So there's really incentive to get done what they need to get done. And then consequences, that's another one. So sometimes that can just be not getting the reward. Okay, so you didn't get your chores done, so now you need to get them done, and you don't get your screen time. That can be enough of a consequence. Or something for the weekend, especially with young kids, you want to keep it as immediate as possible. You might want to try a timeout or something. And again, like the way Triple P does that's a little bit different. Contact us if you'd like to know more about that. And if you just can't quite figure out what would be an appropriate consequence. But the nearer to the time that the problem happens, the better. And the more relevant to the problem. So it might just be removing the reward. You might think of something else that you think would be appropriate to that situation. Keep it relatively short, something that teaches the point that needs to be made, and then the child gets a chance to try it again the next day and do better and get the reward. And then very importantly, so you started this out with a meeting about what's going on and all that, what all needs to be done. So you're going to want to check back in. So after you've tried this for a week, have another meeting. How's that going? I kind of totally forgot about this other thing I need you to do. Or maybe, okay, we kind of overdid it. I think I gave you a little bit too much with some of the other things. Let's rearrange some things. Or that really wasn't fair. So let's alternate jobs between children. If one was washing the dishes last week, maybe a different one. So just keep it an ongoing conversation. You get more buy-in from kids, and you're just going to have better success in the long run. And all of these need to be, if you've got a range of children, these are obviously going to be, you might want to give them the same number of jobs, but you're going to give a 17-year-old more responsible, difficult things than you're going to give the 3-year-old, obviously. So, you'll have to kind of decide what's fair as opposed to being equal. And that can be an ongoing conversation, but ultimately this is you that's deciding what you think is best for your children and best for the whole family. So yeah, and then of course we always have, just like besides the rewards, we just always have encouraging behavior you like. So you're always going to notice when children do something well, you're going to comment on it, you're going to say something, thanks for getting that done on time, thanks for taking initiative to do that without me telling you. You're just kind of going to always do that. And I think there was one more point I was going to make, and I don't remember exactly what it was. So those are some things to start you out. We'd love to hear how that's going for you. We could go through this whole tip sheet together if you wanted to contact us for any more information. This summer is going to be interesting. I think, with fewer activities for our children and all that stuff, we're going to kind of work at this together, what this is going to look at. So for sure, be in touch with us if you'd like more thinking together about what this might look like. That's what we do at Triple P. If you need any more information, there's our Facebook page, which you must be on. We have our YouTube channel, and you can always email us at info@triplelkhcounty.org. Somebody will get back to you pretty quickly. I think that's within 24 hours or less. And then our phone line, 574-226-0160. you don't hear from us, leave a message. We'll call you back and figure out where to go from there. What might be helpful to you, what might be helpful to your family. Looks different for all of us, and yet there are some things that are the same. So thank you for being with me. All the best, and let us know how the chores are going.